Hi folks, and welcome back to my top 200 games of all time. Folks, can you believe we're on 130 now? Yeah, here we go. 130. Welcome back. Stefan Feld with La Isla. In this game, according to the rulebook, you are on an island full of extinct animals and you are hunting them down. Now, I heard that was there's a misprint, and it's supposed to say you are studying them, you're capturing them for study. No, man, I like you're on an island hunting down extinct, nearly extinct animals. That's kind of cool. This game is super neat, super awesome. Like Stefan Feld, he comes up with a unique mechanism. You're trying to completely surround a certain animal and get it for points. But also on your player board, you're also moving, you're also playing cards to change up and mitigate your abilities in the game so you can get more victory points. And the game is all getting a fair collection of each type of animal. Of course, you can go big on some animals and get some big points too. And like a Stefan Feld game, this has a little bit of point salad to it, but it is so much fun. So much fun. It's so much smarter a game. I'd always seen this game for years. I thought that game doesn't look that much fun. But then I think I found it for someone was selling it for $7, $8. I was like, yeah, I think as after I was bidding on another board game. He is, hey, anything else you want, I'll give it to you at minimum price. Things that didn't sell, and I think La Isla was there for $7, $8. I was like, well, let me try out that game. He's like, okay, I'll give it to you for $8, and so I got that game for super cheap. Came in with the game, and I played it first because I didn't think we were gonna have as much fun, but I absolutely love that game. Another Stefan Feld game that's very impressive to me. I don't hear many people talking about it, I guess because it's not that, well, they don't think it's that advanced, but for me, wonderful, wonderful. I'd call this a midweight game that's just so much fun. And to be honest, those in-game points, they can make or break you. At number 129 is Mangrovia. Mangrovia, you are basically, it's kind of worker placement. You're placing your worker on this area, and then as the ship moves around the board, you only get one bowl to place. Unless you're playing a two-player game, then you can place 2 bowls in those areas. And you're basically getting 2 actions. One action as the boat's moving down this little island, and the second action is coming back around. And the actions are completely different. So you may say, well, I really want to do this, but I don't really need to do that. I guess I'll do both. And what you're trying to do is basically area control on the board. You're placing tiles, trying to get land on there to get victory points, to get area control in certain areas, to get to go up the little ornament or trinket track so you can get some extra victory points that way too. And the game is really smart. It's just such a smart game because you have to have the right cards to play to build that land, but the parrots, there are these parrots on the board too that tell you, hey, out of the 4 different areas you can build upon, you only build at 2 at each time. Where you're like, dang it, I got all the cards for the wrong one. I need to move them parrots. So where do I place now? I got to place there. What do I have to do? Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to build a hut yet. But anyway, the game is just really awesome. This is another game that I'd ordered. They sent me the wrong game, and I gave it back to them. I was like, I don't even know if I want this game. But they sent me another one. They actually ended up sending me 2 by accident. I don't know how that happened. I did give the other one back. But Mangrovia is just a great game. It's very colorful, it's very vibrant, but I love the in-game points. I love the in-game points of this because you're seeing horizontally who has the most tiles in a row, or huts in a row, I should say, not tiles. Vertically, who has the most huts there. And then you say, okay, who has the most huts around this area, because this is area control here, or out here, or down here. Great game. Absolutely shocked every time I play it because you don't just looking at the board like, I don't think that'd be that fun a game. And it definitely is. Absolutely love it. Mangrovia, my number 129. 128 is a new game finally added to my collection. It's been a year or so since I've been trying to get this in my collection for so long, but it costs so much. Cinque Terre, or however you pronounce it. Great game. You're this big, this mini truck, I guess, in Italy. I don't know where you are. I should check this out. But you're moving down this road, collecting resources, and then selling those resources in that area. Now, you're trying to fulfill these contracts and trying to get a good balance of merchants in your area to make sure you sell the right things to certain areas so you can get extra big bonus points, and that's where the victory points are, by getting goals and creating goals and getting those areas right. Sure, you can hit up an area for, they're paying the maximum. You roll these dice, and that's what determines the market. So 6 This city's paying the highest price for tomatoes. Okay, I'm going to load up my truck with tomatoes and go see them 7 times. That's great, but eventually they'll have had enough of you and say, hey, you know what? Don't come back. You've fulfilled your contract. You can't come back here again. So you get those quick bonus points at the beginning, but is it worth it? Is it worth it? Because going after those contracts can really add up and give you points. The game is colorful. It's easy to play. It's so much fun. I wish it wasn't so expensive. Maybe even wish it had a reprint, because Cinque Terre, whatever you call it, Cinque Terre, great game. My number 127 is Neronberc. In this game, you are basically buying low, if you can, and selling high to these different areas around the board, trying to make money in the game and trying to get majorities of each one of these resources at the same time. Now, this game scales up to like 5 or 6 players, and when you have that, you have all the vendors out. When we played, I think, a 4-player game, so we had all but 1. But the good news is that the vendors are totally interchangeable. You don't have to use the number 1, 2, and 3 vendor if you don't want to. You can use the 4, 5, and 6 or whatever. And it kind of mixes, match up the games. You can get paper, hats, boots, cupcakes, beer, all sorts of different things, but it's just so cool, and you can sell them back to some of those areas as well for certain victory points as well. So eventually some of these goods are going to get mixed up as well, and each round the prices vary. There are these little tiles that'll slide over, and you're trying to grab that seal that's victory points in the game for having the most of each one, but you also need money in the game too, so you're selling things back for a higher price. You can get that money so you can get the other helper cards in the game, or helper tiles. There's just so much going on with this game. This game looks absolutely beautiful. And Neronberc, I got the mini expansion. It's great. Just gives you some extra, characters you can get to help you out along the way. But the wooden tokens in this, absolutely beautiful. And the fact that you can see on each merchant place what the price is going to be for every round. Because every round, they're going to just slide down. So like, okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to buy cupcakes here. Because later on, 2 turns later, he's going to be selling, I can sell them back to him for double the amount. That's what I'm going to do. That guy, that's the cheapest derbies we'll ever get. Every other time, it's going to be really high. I need to buy now. Or, ooh, I could really use one of those beers, but they cost way too much now. If I wait till the next round, it'll drop significantly in price. But don't want a beer now. It's so great. It probably didn't make much sense to you, but Neronberc, or whatever it's called, is just a great game. Another game I think you can get for a decent price, but wonderful game. At number 126 is a card game in my collection. I don't like card games that much, but Hollywood is a great game. Hollywood, you're playing cards, trying to get the best movie of all time, and then making money, making millions of dollars. They have all these fake icons of these fake producer companies or movie producing companies, and you pick one of them, and then the whole time you're drafting cards or bidding for cards. You're trying to get, you need a script, you need a director, you need an actress and/or actor, one or the other, or both. Well, you need both, so it can be any mix, 2 actors, 2 actresses, or mix of both, and that's where you can get the more points. And then there's these green cards you can play that's extra cast and crew or special effects that can really help you compound on those victory points to get. And those victory points equivalent to money, of course. And of course, if you have lower points, there are these like little Oscar emblems on some of the cards, meaning we're not going to give you that many millions of dollars, but you'll be recognized as a smart, savvy, what's it called, independent film that's kind of edgy and everything, and you'll get an award because you want to win those Oscars. If you win 3 of those awards, or if you win 3, the game's over, because what you're going to do, there's an in-game scoring that's really going to blow people out of the park, and that's the case. Some people are just going for those small budget indie films to see if they can win the trophy this year, and if it's a tie between 2, I think the other players vote. How exciting is that, right? There is a Kickstarter edition out there. It just has some extra cards in it. I did find it separately. I don't know why they were selling it separately, but they were. So I added that to my game, and it's nice. It's just extra cards, mainly green cards that just do different things. But it is a lot of fun. Like I said, don't like card games. But something about building a movie there was really fun and getting millions of dollars. I just wish they didn't have a way for you to make, record. Nowadays, it's all about blockbusters. which is all the time. Well, nowadays it's about no movies whatsoever. But last year it was about big blockbusters, and eventually it'll be about big blockbusters again. But they don't go for even the biggest blockbuster is only going to net you 40 million. Maybe because the game's dated a little bit, I don't know. But this is just a really good game. And speaking from someone who doesn't like card games, that's high praise for Hollywood. My number 125 is called Urbania. If you like Ticket to Ride, you'll like Urbania. If you hate Ticket to Ride, you'll love Urbania. Urbania is just great. You're developing pieces of land. You're going around trying to get the right clearances to upgrade that land. You have special in-game bonus points you're also reaching for as well, and you're buying other characters that can actually net you some victory points every round you keep them in your possession. And they get more expensive as other players buy them off of you. And there's a lot of tug of war going on between particular ones because they can give you more bonus points than others depending on what your strategy is. I can see it. This is kind of like Ticket to Ride, meaning you're trying to get, all the right helmet colors to, even there's a rainbow colored one that's, all a random one, all different colors, just like Ticket to Ride. You're playing them all down to develop new land, which is establishing routes. But the reason I hate Ticket to Ride and I love Urbania doesn't have one single route. Like Ticket to Ride does. If you don't finish that one route, you're not making any points. You just got to get new gold cards. But for Urbania, you can basically, you can maneuver, say, well, I really want to develop that block, but they did, that's okay, because there's several other options now that they opened to me. Maybe I can open that one. And the board itself looks a little bit of a mess, especially with all those tiles. They just it's a little too much of an eyesore. But other than that, I can overlook that for such a fantastic game. Now, I got the little mini expansions that Mayfair had for it, and we did play with them. They were really fun. I'll play with them forever. I mean, they don't really change the game that much, but they are fun. But Urbania, you can get this one for dirt cheap. Again, what are people thinking? Especially people who like Ticket to Ride. If you have someone who likes Ticket to Ride, they won't play anything else, buy them Urbania and watch them go, ooh, because and every person that's played it with me goes, this is a lot like Ticket to Ride. My nephew even told me this year, he said, this reminds me of Ticket to Ride. Does that mean you hate this game? No, I actually love it, which is why it's number 125 on my list. Hey, speaking of Mayfair games, I think my number 124 is also on that list. It's Toledo. Toledo, you're setting up little tiles to set little markets in the area that can give you steel, that can give you jewels, that can forge steel into swords, that can give you sword fencing lessons that can help you out in the game if someone challenges you for a spot. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to develop 3 swords to give to the king. And of course, the nicer the sword, the higher the victory points. However, someone can actually cut the game early by just delivering 3 crappy swords to the king and hoping that you don't have enough victory points to beat him in the end, which I've seen happen before. There's only one sword that's really big points. It's hard to get that and win because you usually take up a lot of your turns just to get all the resources. And once you finally get there, someone's already delivered their second sword by that time. So you're behind the ball already. Luckily, I was able this year to play that big sword and still win the game. It's the first person who ever played that big sword and not fallen too far behind. But I came up with a different strategy that really worked. Placing those tiles first, I think, is crucial. I know you kind of want to get a head start building that sword, but to be honest, I don't see why anyone doesn't just place out all their buildings on their first few turns instead of going to get that sword that seems to be jumping early. But of course, getting fencing lessons too, when someone drops it, you can push someone out of a spot, but you have to have a fencing lesson with them. And if they have certain cards in there or certain abilities in their hand, you're not going to win. But 2 people evenly skilled, it makes for an interesting fight whenever you see it, because you're basically just flipping over the cards and looking at the bottom emblem, which is going to tell you who won each fight. Oh, I love Toledo. The jewels look fantastic in this game. It's simple. It's fun to understand. and just such an incredible game. Another game you can get for cheap. Heck, a lot of my games on my list, even though some of them are out of print, at least you got to hand it to me. You can get a cheap game out of them once in a while. At number 123 is Dream Home. In Dream Home, you are trying to build, of course, the best home ever, and you can get various victory points, especially if you have the expansion, which I do, and I always play with it. You can get victory points based on certain things you do and ways you have things set up as well. I think the expansion brings in architects or whatever that will grade you on certain achievements that you've made at the end of the game. Now, this game can be close. In fact, a couple of times it has ended in dead ties. Has the most wonderful tiebreaker ever created. It's basically Where's Waldo. In the picture of some of these cards that you put in your house could be the foot, leg, arm, or just top of the head of a kid hiding in your home. And so in a tiebreaker, which is so much fun, everyone then has to look over their board to see if they can find kids, because that's the tiebreaker there. Do you have enough kids to be the other person in your house? Lots of different ways to get bonus points in this game, to get matching colors of the roof, to matching areas in the bigger the dining room or the bathtub or what bedroom you'll get more victory points for, and depending on what your setup is, you could get victory points for. There's also, I think, something in Spanish called, it's like the floor plans. If you achieve what the floor plans say, you'll get some extra victory points too. Lots of moving factors on such a simple game. I know on BGG they're selling the Christmas promos and the car promo, which is nice. I got both of those by myself. I kept complaining because I waited till Christmas. I said, surely they're going to get that. And they didn't. I said, I'm kind of bummed. And then after Christmas, January, I remember they put it out. I was like, what was the point? Yeah, getting the expansions or getting the, I should say, the expansion to Dream Home is probably worth it, and getting those little promos, I don't know. It is nice to have a Christmas tree in your house. That's really nice. But other than that, just awesome game. I wish my wife would play this with me. If she could play this with me, I'm almost sure I'd see it back up on my top 100 again. Number 122 is a burger building game called Burger Boss. Burger Boss comes in this wild container, looks like a big hamburger, plastic hamburger, and it basically is a nice organizer for the game. And this is dice rolling, dice placement game. You start with 2 dice, you're rolling them and putting them on the cards and receiving those actions. Hopefully, it is to help build a burger. Now, first, you're not going to be able to serve but one customer, maybe. And you're like, dude, I'll never get through all those customers in one turn. By the end of the game, if you played it right, you have upgraded your griddle, your orders, your everything. You've unlocked extra workers for extra dice placement. And by the end of the game, you are just clearing out like, oh, how many are there? 6? Okay, I'll serve all 6 right now. Because you have that many hamburgers a grilling and getting that many victory points for them too. You also have a special ability at the end of the game that you can reveal. You need a certain type of person, like if there's anyone who never ate bread, they're trying to go on a no-carb diet. How many of those, whoever got the most of those gets X amount of points. Or if you got the most, I can't remember what it is, what those bonus cards do, but you got the most of something, some specific order, deluxe orders, or you weighed on ladies the most. That could give you some extra points as well. Just such a great game. This is a game you cannot find in the secondary market. It came in one of those bento boxes where you get a free game of the month, and it only came out that way. And I was thinking, it's not that bad of a game. I don't see it as run-of-the-mill or plain Jane. I actually loved it. And unlocking those die can take you out of getting victory points, but then you'll have more movement at the end. I always like how those sacrifices, those trades are made in board games. And so Burger Boss, fantastic game. Just wish it was more easily available to the public. And finally, my number 121 is a new game on my list. It is Yahtzee on steroids, in my opinion, and it was called Favor of the Pharoh. Now, it gets an F for a terrible cover, but the Favor of the Pharoh, you're basically rolling dice 3 times and trying to get, whatever you can out of those die. There are certain points, tiles or cards you can buy that give you different bonuses in the game, or give you more dice, which is really what you're going to need in the game as you slowly move up the tree to get to the Pharaoh's wife. I think Cleopatra, and then the game ends. But Favor the Pharoh, I know it's a reprint of another game, something about the king, And that would probably be fun. I was actually looking at that one until I saw it got reprinted at a much lower price. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll get Favor the Pharaoh. And like I said, it's just regular dice you're rolling with, and every once in a while, all the specific tiles or cards you're going to be using won't be the same. So every game will be different. And as you're going around there trying to, unlock different powers and try to get more and more powerful, there's a lot of interesting gameplay that comes out with that, because those, I don't know what they're called. I think they're called like strips or something, board strips, that have what each ability is. And you can mix them up, flip them up and down, and have different cards, giving you different abilities in the game. Absolutely wonderful game. My nephew was I remember I played this with the nephews, and one was very impressed by that. He absolutely loved the game. Only complaint, and this is probably why it it would have been much higher on my list if it gave you enough red die. They're 6-sided die. It bothers me. I'm going to grab die out of another one of my games and replace it and move that dice in with my Favor the Pharaoh, because Favor the Pharaoh needs more red dice. You don't have enough. I think I did butcher some red dice actually from my supply there, because you're always trying to borrow everyone else's die, and it can really get out of hand after a while. But that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get the bigger points or the biggest combinations to get seek the Favor of the Pharaoh in the game. That's all what the game is about. Just rolling. It's, like I said, Yahtzee 2.0. So again, this would also be another great gateway game if you're interested in it. All right, folks, that is all the time I have today. Oh no, but don't worry, I'll be back later on with more videos. See you later.